Well, I just want to wish everybody a good evening and welcome to Torah is for Everyone. Brian, what's the Torah portion this week? What's it called?
Bamidbar,
Bamidbar. Do you know what it means?
something about numbers.
Yeah, but it also means in the desert, Bamidbar, in the wilderness, and it comes from two words. One means word, daber, and the other one, davar, means nothing. So you have, and it also means wilderness. And numbers, the reason they call it numbers is because there's so many senses that are taken in this portion. So I'm going to share the screen and we'll read it. When I was reading it over, I was really struggling because it can sound very boring. Reading about every one of the tribes, how many there were in each tribe, the names of all these people. But we have to try to get beyond the boringness of it. And if we step back, see what it's saying for us today. What kind of, remember, the Torah is not a book of it's not a historical book, although it is. It's not a scientific book, although it is. It's got many things. It's not our history, although it has all these things. But it's a book of principles for us to be able to take in our lives today. Right, Brian?
Right.
Right. Okay, so let me share the screen and let's see what we can glean from this together. Bamidbar. So the first thing it's going to do is tell us when it takes place. And it's on the first day of the second month in the second year. So we know that we've already been in the desert after we left Egypt for one whole year, only a year since we left Egypt. And this is the second month of the second year. So it's right at the beginning. It's after, at the first day of the first month is Pesach. So this is in the second month. And after Pesach, remember, we count where this reading is always comes before Shavuot, which is next Tuesday. So this is the timing of when it happened, following the exodus from the land of Egypt. So we're brand new, freed slaves. The Lord spoke to Moses, Bamidbar, in the wilderness of Sinai, in the Ochel Moed. Remember, the first year, they spent all that year in building the tent that was going to be in the center where God would dwell among us. And God is telling Moses to take a census of the whole Israel community, of the young men, the ones who were going to be called to go to war, right from the very beginning. First thing that he did was to form an army. He knew that we were going to need it. Now he was going to list the names of every male one by one. That shows how important they are. You and Aaron, Moses and Aaron, shall record them by their troops from the ages of 20 years and up, the age of 20, because 20 was when they're old enough to serve in the army. All those in Israel who are able to bear arms. Associated with you shall be a head from each tribe, each the head of his ancestral house. These are the names who shall be there with you. We have Reuben, who was the firstborn, Elitzur. From Reuben, he chose Elitzur, means the names in Hebrew always have a meaning. And when I meet people from the Orient or from other countries, I always ask them, what does your name mean? Elitzur means Eli is my God, and Tsur is rock of Shedior. Shimeon, Shlumiel, the son of Tsuri Shaddai. Shaddai is God. My rock is my God is my rock. From Judah, Nachshon, son of Aminadab. From Issachar, Netanel, which means gift of God, son of Zuar. From Zebulun, Eliav, son of Elon. From the sons of Joseph, from Ephraim and Manasseh, we have, remember, Joseph was divided into two tribes. So from them we get Elishama and Gamaliel. Then we have Benjamin and Dan and Asher and Gad, Naphtali. All these 12 tribes were going to be divided up. It's showing that, and each one by name, it shows us that each and every one of us has value. God knows our name. He knows your name, Miriam. He knows your name, Baruch. He knows your name, Jerry, and he knows my name. And he's given each of us a purpose, a calling in our lives. And then he's going to create an order. Those are the elected of the assembly. They are the chosen ones, the heads of their tribes, their communities. And Moses and Aaron took those participants who were designated, chosen by name. And on the first day of the second month, they gathered the whole army together, the whole company, registered by the clans of their ancestral houses, the names of those aged 20 years and over, listed head by head. As the Lord had commanded Moses, so he recorded them in the wilderness of Sinai. Moses wrote down all their names for posterity, so we know who they are. Excuse me. They totaled as follows. The descendants of Reuben, who was Israel's firstborn. The registration of the clans, as listed by name, head by head, all males aged 20 and over, all were able to bear arms. You see how often he repeats the same thing. I think maybe God thinks that we're a little dumb. We're not paying attention. That's why he keeps repeating over and over again. So then from the tribe of Reuben, imagine, there were, from the time we left Egypt, we started counting. We had not only multiplied while we were in the desert, but these were the ones who came out of Egypt. So just the tribe of Reuben alone were 46,500. Now we know that because we're going to see this one ends in 500, this one ends in 300, so it's rounded off. They're not exact figures. From Simeon, their clans, their enrollment by names, all who are going to bear arms, there were 59,300. The descendants of Gad, 45,650. This was a little different. Gad was one of the tribes. It was going to be Reuben and Gad, I think, and Manasseh were the three tribes who would be outside the land, who would decided to stay on this side of the Jordan when we entered the land. Of the descendants of Judah, we're going to have 74,600. Issachar, 54,400. Zebulun, 57,400. Of Joseph, from the side of Ephraim, 40,500. And then Manasseh, 32,200. Benjamin, 35,400. And Dan, 62,700. Dan was very busy. Of the descendants of Asher, 41,500. Naphtali, 53,400. Those are the enrollments recorded by Moses and Aaron and by the chiefs of Israel. There were 12 chiefs in number, one participant from each ancestral house. All the Israelite males, aged 20 years and over, enrolled by their homes, their fathers' houses, all those in Israel who were to bear arms, all who were enrolled came to 603,550. So we know from this amount that left Egypt a year before, that only the men 20 and over were 603,550. That's not counting those who were under, not counting the females, not counting the women, not counting the elderly, not counting the servants and the slaves who were left with us, which is why they approximate that it could be anywhere between 3 to 6 million people who left. Imagine those people coming through the desert, that amount of people. And now these people were going to be ordered.
Sorry, how many people did you say it's estimated?
About between 3 to 6 million.
Oh, okay, right.
Now the Levites were not included in that. And God spoke to Moses saying, do not on any count enroll the tribe of Levi or take a census of them. At the beginning, God had said, all of Israel would be a house of priests. But when we sinned at the golden calf, God instead chose one of the tribes from whom the Kohanim would come from. You shall put the Levites in charge of the tabernacle of the pact, which means where the covenant of God, the 10 Commandments, would be housed. The Levites would be in charge of all the furnishings, everything that pertained to the tabernacle. They were to carry the tabernacle, all its furnishings. They had to tend to it, and they shall camp around the tabernacle. So the tabernacle would be in the center, and then you would have the Levites around it in the middle, and then you'd have the 12 tribes around them. So we see an order being set up here. When the tabernacle is set out, whenever we were to leave, the Levites had to take it down. And when the tabernacle was to be pitched up again, the Levites shall set it up. Any outsider who encroaches shall be put to death. God is showing us right here with this is that we are not to do something that we are not called to do. You know, when you hear that someone else is doing something that you just wish that you could do, but it isn't your calling. Like if someone sings like a frog and how they spend their life wishing they could sing like Barbra Streisand, it could make them sick. We're given the gifts that we need for the calling that we're going to have, and we need to be happy with it. If we're not happy with it, sometimes it makes us so sick that we die. The Israelites shall encamp troop by troop, each man with his division, and each under his own standard. Right now, we see flags being waved. We see the flag of Israel, and everybody knows what that stands for. Well, each one of the troops, each one of the camps had their own flag, their own standard. The flag of Judah was the flag of the lion. I wonder what my family flag would look like. I remember Miriam and I, we were walking down to the old part of Montreal, and we came across a man who was begging. And it turns out that he was from one of the tribes of the indigenous people up north. And he had a big turtle that was engraved on his arm. And I said, oh, what is that? And he says, that's the emblem of my tribe. It was a turtle tribe. So we had different emblems of the different tribes of Israel. The Levites shall camp around the tabernacle, so that anger, the wrath of God, may not strike the Israelite community. And the Levites shall stand guard around the tabernacle of the pact. The pact is the covenant that God made with us when we stood at Mount Sinai, and he gave us the 10 Commandments, and we said, all that you say we will do. He made a pact with us, and we agreed. We accepted that pact. And those 10 Commandments were inside the Ark of the Covenant. The Israelites did accordingly, just as the Lord had commanded Moses, so they did. And the Lord spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, the Israelites shall camp, each man with his standard, with his flag, under the banner of the Father's home. They shall camp around the tent of meeting at a distance. So the Israelites were not going to be near the tent of meeting. It's the Levites who are going to be separating the pact, the covenant, the tabernacle from the people, so that they were protected. They couldn't go too close. Now we're going to see where they were. Camped on the east side was the standard of Judah. Judah is named first. They are going to lead. They're going to lead the tribe. Whenever they would go out, Judah would be the first one to take He was going to be, from Judah would descend the kings. From Judah would descend the coming of the Messiah. The chieftains of Judah, Nachshon, son of Aminadab. His troop is enrolled 74,600. Camping next to it, the tribe of Issachar, and they were 54,400. The tribe of Zebulun, chief of the Zebulunites, and then we have the total enrolled in the division of Judah, so that we have 186,400 on the east side of the tabernacle behind the Levites. Okay, these shall march first. They were always to go out and lead the way. Then we have south, the division of Reuben, and then camping next to it, Reuben, Simeon, and Gad. The total would be 151,000. They would march second. Then behind them, then midway between the divisions, the Levites, the midway between the division, the tent of meeting, the division of the Levites shall move. As they camp, so shall they march, each in position by their standards. Now we have on the west, we have Ephraim, Manasseh, and Benjamin. And their total was 108,100, and they were going to take off third. So you see, God is giving an order. We needed order. How are we going to control all these people? We have to have order. That's why it's so important. God is telling us we need order in our lives. And one of the things that I have found in my own life after I came to know God and following the Torah now for 35 years, the more I follow God, the more I obey his Torah, the more there's order around me, order in my life. And it's good to know when I get up, I know that I have an order to my day. I know what I'm going to be doing. And because when you're out of order, there's stress involved. You just don't know what you're going to be doing. It's like you can't get your head together. Order is really important. And one of the first things they say to do, you get up, you make your bed. Get up, wash your face, brush your teeth, clean yourself up, and get ready for your day. The north side is Dan, Asher, and Naphtali. They were 157,600, and they would be the last ones. The total enrolled, 603,550,000. The Levites, however, were not recorded among the Israelites. They didn't go to war in the same way. They didn't bear arms, but they did go before. They would carry the Ark of the Covenant. They would blow the shofars. God's presence would always be with our people whenever we went out to battle. And we need that today, believe me. The Israelites did accordingly, just as the Lord had commanded Moses. So they encamped by their standards, by their flags. So they marched, each man with his clan, according to the ancestral house. Now, I don't know if you could picture this, but to me, it's just exciting even to think about it. If we were standing there watching these millions of people getting up and ready to move, their standards were waved in the air, hundreds of thousands of men, all in order. It just is marvelous. This is the line of Aaron and Moses at that time, that God spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai. These were the names of Aaron's sons: Nadab and Abihu, the firstborn, and Abihu, Eleazar and Itamar. Those were the names of Aaron's sons, the anointed priests who were ordered for priesthood. Notice what it says here. This is the line, this is the generation, Toldot, of Aaron and Moses at that time that the Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai. But then it says, these were the names of Aaron's sons. And he gives you the names of his sons. Nowhere does it name Moses' sons. Interesting. And then he talks about the first two sons of Aaron, what happened to them. Here it says Nadab and Abihu died by the will of the Lord. That's not what it says in the Hebrew. It says, Vayamat Nadab ve'Abihu, and died Nadab and Abihu, Lifnei Adonai, Lifnei Yud He Vav He, before the Lord, Behakrivam, the ones who approached, Esh Zara, who approached or brought near to God, Esh Zara, strange fire, Lifnei Adonai, Bamidbar, Avihem. No, Sinai. So we see here that it didn't necessarily say by the will of God, but they died because of what they did. They offered a strange fire, and they had been trained during those 7 days inside the tent of meeting. They had been trained exactly what they were supposed to do as Kohanim, and they knew they shouldn't do it. And they did, and they died in the wilderness of Sinai, and they had no sons. So Eleazar and Itamar, who served as Kohanim in their lifetime, are their father Aaron. But nowhere do we see the sons of Moses. And we never hear of them afterwards. I guess because they stayed with Tzipporah, and we don't hear anything about them. From that, we can surmise that God's calling is very personal. You don't inherit the calling of your fathers. You inherit the calling directly from God. The Lord spoke to Moses, saying, advance the tribe of Levi, a Levi, and place its men in attendance upon Aaron, the priest, to serve him. Here it says, Hakerev, like Kerev means to draw near, et Mate, the tribe of Levi, ve Amadat, to stand, Oto, Lifnei Aharon, that they were going to be the ones that, it's almost like they were going to be the gift of Levi. The Levites would have, the Levites would be a gift to Aaron, the Kohen, to serve him. The Levites were there to serve the Kohanim. They were to perform the duties for him, for the whole community before the tent of meeting, doing the work of the tabernacle. This was hard work. They were going to take charge of all the furnishings of the tent of meeting. You know, sometimes we think, oh, look how amazing these people are. Oh, they're so high. They had a lot of work to do. It wasn't easy to work in the temple, in the tent of meeting. A duty on behalf of the Israelites, doing the work of the tabernacle. You shall assign the Levites to Aaron and to his sons. They are formally assigned to him from among the Israelites. You shall make Aaron and his sons responsible for observing their duties as Kohanim, and any outsider who encroaches shall be put to death. Everybody has their own role. Don't try to take the role of someone else. Later on, we didn't do that. Remember, Korach led a rebellion. Korach was one of the Levites. He was born even before Moses, but he was jealous and wanted the position and tried to usurp it, and he ended up being put to death. And it's a principle. Don't envy others. Don't covet their positions. Be happy with your own. I hereby take the Levites from among the Israelites in place of all the male firstborn, the first issue of the womb among the Israelites. The Levites shall be mine. For every firstborn male is mine. At the time that I killed every male firstborn in the land of Egypt, I consecrated every male firstborn in Israel, human and beast, to myself, to be mine, the Lord.
Peggy,
Yes,
I'm just a little confused. When it says that he takes the firstborn, the Levites replace the firstborn, didn't it just say that?
yes.
They could, and that then he says now, like I'm getting a bit confused.
The
Maybe
first, no, all the firstborn males have a very important part of the inheritance in Israel. And here, the remember I said all the Israel were to be, it's like, you are my firstborn, you are my beloved, you are the one
right,
that I chose.
So we're all like priests in a sense.
We are all supposed to be like priests in a sense, but we lost that privilege when we sinned with the golden calf. So then God chose the Levites to be the firstborn in place of the firstborn males.
But here it says, but every firstborn male is mine.
Exactly, they belong to God.
But
We're all,
you said the Levites are in place of the firstborn.
but not
So,
not to serve in the tent of meeting.
oh, okay, all right,
Yeah.
right, okay.
And the Lord spoke to Moses in the wilderness of Sinai. Record the descendants of Levi, by their homes, by their fathers' homes, by their clan, every male from the age of 1 month. Here, the Levites are going to be called at the age of 1 month. They're already going to know their roles. So Moses recorded them at the command of the Lord as he was bidden. And these are the names of Levi by their names: Gershon, Kahat, and Merari. These were the names of the sons of Gershon by clan: Livni, Shimei; of Kahat, Amram and Issachar; Hebron and Uziel. Hebron, amazing. That's today they say that's Palestinian territories, but we know from here it's Israel. The sons of Merari by clan: Machli and Mushi. The clans of the Levites to Gershon, and here we're naming all the duties of the Gershonites would be to take care of the tabernacle, the tent, its covering, the screen for the entrance. Very, very specific things. Like, I know my place in my community. I know what I have to do, and it's very clear. And each of us has our roles. Cantor has his roles. The person who goes to visit the sick, we all have roles. The hanging of the enclosure, the screen for the entrance of the enclosure which surrounds the tabernacle, the Kohat. Let me continue down here. Here, the chieftain of the Kohathites, their duties were the ark, the table, the lampstand, the altars, the sacred utensils, the screen. They knew what they had to do. So when they had to take down the tabernacle to get ready to move, everybody knew where they needed to be. All stepped in line and all did their work. It's beautiful when you read it this way, to see that everybody knew what they had to do. I'm not going to read every single thing because that's something that you can read on your own. Let's see here. Let me continue down here. Okay. Moses spoke to Aaron. God spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, take a separate census of the Kohathites among the Levites by the clans of their ancestral home from the age of 30 to the age of 50. It's a little different than the army. The average Israelite started at 20, and they would end, I think, I don't know if it says, but I think it's in the 60s. But here, serving in the temple or serving in the tent of meeting, they would be almost like butchers. Remember, people brought offerings, and it was very difficult work. Imagine sacrificing all those animals and offering them up. So they only did it for 20 years, and then they had to step down. From 30 to 50, all who were subject to service. It was hard work. It's a responsibility of the Kohathites in the tent of meeting, the most sacred objects. At the breaking of camp, Aaron and his sons are to go in, take down the curtain, cover the ark of the covenant with it. They shall lay, they say dolphin, but there were no dolphins in the desert, but they're not really sure what it was. Here, I think it's some kind of letter. The Tahash, they don't really know what the meaning was of the word. Why they gave it dolphin, I have no idea. And then they spread a cloth of pure blue on the top, and they put its poles in place. And then over the table of display, they spread a blue cloth. They shall place upon it the bowls, the ladles, the jars, the libation jugs, and the regular bread shall rest upon it. You know, it just occurred to me also, and I think I've mentioned this before, these men were responsible for all these things, but they didn't do it alone. They had their wives, they had children, they had other people, they had their servants who helped them with all these things. These cloths had to be washed. These bowls and ladles and jars had to be cleaned. So they had a whole team of people. Nobody runs things on their own. It takes a whole community. Let's continue with all the things that they had to do. When Aaron and his sons have finished covering the sacred objects and all the furnishings of the sacred objects at the breaking of camp, only then shall the Kohathites come and lift them, so that they do not come in contact with the sacred objects and die. See, each one had its role. These things in the tent of meeting shall be the porterage of the Kohathites. Only they could carry them, which is why, remember when Uzziel, when David was bringing the Ark of the Covenant back to Jerusalem, he and the cart went into a hole. Uzziel went and he put his hand on the cart to steady it, and he died because he was not to come in contact with the sacred objects, or he would die. And this is what happened. And King David felt terrible about it, because he knew. He must have known, because he had to read the Torah. And they weren't able to bring the Torah, the Ark of the Covenant back for a while, until after they did it properly. Responsibility shall rest with Eleazar, son of Aaron the Kohen, for lighting the oil, the aromatic incense, the regular meal offering, the anointing oil. Responsibility for the whole tabernacle and for everything consecrated that's in it and its vessels. God spoke to Moses and Aaron, saying, do not allow the group of the Kohathite clans to be cut off from the Levites. Do this with them, that they may live and not die when they approach the most sacred objects. Let Aaron and his sons go in and assign each of them to his duties and to carrying them. But don't let the Kohathites go inside and witness the dismantling of the sanctuary, lest they die. That's how important each of our roles is, and we shouldn't want to take it from anyone else. That's what God is telling us. Now, I want to share something else here. How can I share something else? Hold on a second. Share the screen. Let me stop for a second, and I want to share it again. This time I want to read the Haftorah portion, which takes place in the book of Hosea. Now remember, Hosea is the prophet who was married. He was told to marry a prostitute because Israel had prostituted herself. She sold herself to the other nations. And this is what the Haftorah portion is for this week. And it's really important for us to look at it. The number of the people of Israel shall be like the sand of the sea. Remember, we just did the counting, and here God is telling us that we shall be like the sand of the sea, which cannot be measured or counted. And instead of being told, you are not my people, they shall be called children of the living God. Imagine when everyone in the world knows that the Israelites are children of the living God. When we shall know that we are children of the living God. And the people of Judah and the people of Israel shall assemble together. Here it says, B'nai Yehuda u'B'nai Israel. I remember when our Rabbi said, the people of Judah are the people who are born from the tribes of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, and then through Judah, from whom we get the name Jews, and the people of Israel have to do with the commonwealth, those who joined us, like Ruth, like Caleb, like those throughout the centuries who have come to join with our people, shall assemble together and appoint one head over them. And they shall arise from the ground, for great shall be the day of Yezreel. Call your brothers Ami, which means my people, and your sisters Rachama, which means compassionate. Plead with your mother, plead, for she is not my wife, and I am not her husband. And let her put away her harlotry from her sight, and her adulteries from beneath her breasts, lest I strip her naked, and set her as in the day that she was born, and make her like Bamidbar, like the wilderness, and set her like desert land, and slay her with thirst. I will not have mercy upon her children, for they are children of harlotry. For their mother has played the harlot. She who conceived them has done shamefully, for she said, I will go after my lovers who supply my bread and my water, my wool and my flax, my oil and my drink. In other words, it's saying here that the Israelites think that others supplied their needs, their bread, their water, their wool, everything to them. They have forgotten their God. Therefore, behold, I will hedge up your way with thorns, and I will raise a wall against her so that she shall not find her paths, and she shall run after her lovers, but she shall not overtake them. She shall seek. Oh, what's going on here? Oh, here. She shall seek them, but shall not find them. Then shall she say, I will go and return to my first husband, for it was better for me then than now. For she did not know that it was I who gave her new grain. This is God speaking. I provided everything, grain, wine, oil. I lavished silver on her and gold, which they used for Baal, which were the foreign gods. Surely I will take back my new grain in its time and my new wine in its season, and will snatch away my wool and my linen that were to cover her nakedness. Now I will uncover her shame in the sight of her lovers, and no one shall deliver her from my hand. I will also end all her rejoicing, her feasts, her new moons, her Shabbats, and all her appointed seasons, not God's, the ones that we created. And I will destroy her vines and her fig trees, about which she said, these are my rewards that my lovers have given me. And I will make them a forest, and the beasts of the field shall eat them. And I will punish her, meaning Israel, for the days of the Baalim on which she offered burnt incense to them. And decked with her earrings and her jewels, she went after her lovers and forgot me, says the Lord. Surely I will allure her and bring her into the wilderness and speak tenderly to her. I will give her vineyards from there, and the valley of Achor for a door of hope. And she shall respond there as in the days of her youth, when she came out of the land of Egypt. And it shall be at that day. Now this is coming. This day is coming in the future. It shall be at that day, says God, that you shall call me Ishi, my husband. And no more shall she call me Ba'ali, my master. For I will remove the names of the Baalim from her mouth, and they shall no more be mentioned by name. And in that day I will make a covenant for them with the beasts of the fields, with the birds of the air, the creeping things of the ground. Imagine, he's going to make a covenant with us, with the beasts of the field and the birds and the creeping things. And I will break the bow and the sword and battle out of the land, and they will lie down in safety. I love this. This is a song that we sing. I will betroth you to me forever. I will betroth you to me in righteousness, in justice, in loving kindness, and in compassion. I will betroth you to me in faithfulness, and you shall know God. Imagine in that day, every single one of us, everyone shall know God, not only those born from Judah, but those who have joined us from around the world, from all the nations, shall know us. It's
That's
such,
so beautiful.
yeah, such a message of hope.
Hope.
So we see it's not that complicated. It sounds, we have to step back and not try to go back to those days for now, because we can't. We don't have the 12 tribes in the way we were, but we do know we have a God of order. We do know that we all have a role, and we're not to covet anybody else's role, and that because that literally can lead us to death, to make ourselves so sick, that we shouldn't be jealous of others, because it brings stress in our lives, that we need to be grateful for the role that he's given us, and that the tribe of Judah has always led the way. In other words, the Jews of the world who follow God will always lead the way for the rest of the world. They hold a standard, the standard of justice and righteousness and mercy. And we are to be leaders, not followers. So that's the message that I drew from this week's portion, even though when I first started reading it, I was shaking in my boots because I was saying, oh my goodness, what am I going to gather from this? Look at your message there. That's what's his name?
Who is that?
That's from the
Is
United
that the-
oh,
Paul Revere.
Paul Revere. Was that Paul Revere?
Or unless it's not the Headless Horseman.
No, it's not the Headless Horseman. Jerry, is that Paul Revere? No, you're on mute, Jerry.
No, this was a poem I was doing the Highwayman,
Okay.
and someone drew that picture, and I was trying to change it, but I don't think you being the host, you're not allowing us to change the background right now.
Oh, yes, you can. You can change
Well,
your background.
You didn't let me do it. No, I can't do it with what you have.
That's strange.
Yeah, it doesn't matter.
If you go into video,
yeah, I know, but I can't go into video.
why not?
It's not taking it with you. It's not taking
Okay.
it right now.
Doesn't matter. We'll
It
leave
doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter right now. So, Jerry, did you get anything from today's reading?
Yeah, it's very, very, very interesting. I don't have a comment right now, but it's very interesting.
So when will you have comments?
Next week.
Next week.
If not now, when?
That's right. Pirkei Avot.
Exactly.
What?
I have a
Pirkei Avot.
comment.
What?
Yeah.
101.
Yes, Miriam.
I've said this many times, but I'm just saying it in a different shade, different tone. When we talk about order, it's so fundamental that even when I studied music at one time, and you learn about certain forms, or even the form of a classical symphony, which I don't remember right now, but there's, A, B, B, A, whatever. It's an intro, and it's the theme, and blah, 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 and variations on the theme came later. All these things, the same as is in writing. You have the crescendo up to the climax of the, and it's like tension and resolution. Everything has form, and it's really a beautiful thing. It's not a bad thing. It's not rigid, and it's not it's not to inhibit you. People think freedom means breaking all bounds, but real freedom is working within nature and God's bounds. There's so much freedom to even when you're doing a painting or whatever, or writing a poem. It's like a dance. You're not free because you follow certain steps, and you could improvise within certain confines. Even in jazz, you have certain certain verses, and then you'll have the same amount of beats that you can improvise on that. But anyway, to me, it's about life. It's like the rhythm of life, and having a beginning and end. Like people talk about, like there seems to be more than ever now, whether you say it or not, but it just seems to be expressed in people's words and the way they act, is that freedom is synonymous with just doing whatever you want, breaking all rules, as if rules are, anyway. I can go on and on about this, but
No, but it's true. You see it in society. You see it with the kids today. They think that breaking all rules in their dress, that they can do anything they want, but it doesn't mean that it looks nice, that it's not. It's like what they're doing. It's anarchy and chaos. There's no. It's opposite to God. It's opposite to what He
And the
wants.
funny thing is that our true selves our true selves are not in chaos. There becomes like a new norm where chaos, and people say, well, we're different. No, you're just being chaotic in the same way the whole group of, like, so much of the world is chaotic now, and so many art forms like chaotic, etc., that you're not being original or being yourself. Being yourself is beyond chaos. It's like saying, I'm bored with, like, purple is boring because it has a certain mixture of hues or whatever. It's such a rebellion at some level, a rebellion against the whole order of the world. It's like, is it rebellious to be born a dog instead of a cat? Or, I mean, does a dog rebel because it's not a cat? Each thing has its beauty.
Exactly. Imagine never knowing when the sun is going to come up. Like what if all of a sudden God decides, you know what, I'll keep it dark for 3 days, and on the 4th day maybe I'll bring the sun. He created order. He created,
Yeah.
we can know, and we can know right from wrong with the order that He gave us when He gave us these commandments. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
And I can see it in my life, because the longer I am with God, the longer I followed Him, the more I see that my surroundings have more and more order and more beauty.
Right, for sure.
Yeah. It's like cleaning out, as we clean out the cobwebs in our brains, the cobwebs in our home get cleaned out at the same time.
Right.
All right. Is there anything more that you want to discuss about this portion before we close?
The mouse likes your portion.
The mouse likes my portion. Did you give him something to eat?
Oh,
Brian, you have a mouse.
on the floor. It's there.
Brian,
Yeah.
you have a mouse.
There's a mouse in this room.
Do you
Good.
see it now, or it just comes out sometime?
He comes out and he goes around. And
He likes you.
Did you give
Whatever.
him cheese?
I don't got no cheese for him, but he's gotta go. Cheese.
That's cute. All right, Jerry, do you want to finish with the Aaronic
I
benediction?
just want to make a quick, Brian, there's a nice story, I think, John Steinbeck, of mice and men, but you have to treat your mouse nicer. And Miriam, you're deep thinker.
Huh?
No comment. And
No,
Peggy,
Brian, what did you say?
He said you're a deep thinker.
Oh, I thought you, well.
Yes,
I'm
you
just-
are. You're a
and
thinker.
Anyone who,
Peggy, it's particular, but also good in general. What we were discussing previously, I'm mentioning it because it's also general. Whatever we do or don't do, I think I would advise myself to stay within what is customary.
oh, you mean about the order of the,
Well-
of the service?
Yeah, the service, what they're doing, should continue with what you're doing customarily,
Mhm.
Okay.
You put a
Then,
painting behind you.
Okay, so now we'll do the Aaronic blessing. As I said, we do a little bit of chanting with it in a way, and the blessing is done with love, and in the Lashon, whatever.
Kodesh.
Kodesh, right.
The
Blessed
Holy
art thou,
Family.
Lord our God, King of the universe, who has sanctified Kohanim with the holiness of Aaron and commanded Kohanim to bless thy people Israel with love. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'kdushasoi shel Aaron v'tzivonu levarechas amo Yisrael b'yahavo yevarechecho Adonai v'yishmerecho Yair Adonai Panav elecho v'chuneko Yisro Adonai Panav elecho ve'yosem lecho Shalom. V'samu et shemi al b'nei Yisrael v'ani arvorchem.
May the Lord bless you and keep you.
Yogurt.
May the Lord, Brian, turn off your
Yes, my
okay, let me go back, sorry. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord shine his face upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord lift his countenance upon you and give you his peace. So shall they put my name upon the children of Israel, and I will bless them. And we ask God for you to bless your children Israel today. As we approach Shavuot next week, we ask that you would remember the hostages. Put your eyes upon the hostages and bring them home, Lord. Let there be a miracle for Shavuot. The Shavuot was one of the pilgrim festivals, one of the 3 festivals where our people would go up to Jerusalem, would honor you, would bring you gifts and offerings, and thank you for the harvest. Let us remember to thank you for all the good that you've done that you do in our lives, how you provide. It's not any other nation that provides for us, but you, Lord. It's you who provides for us. Let us be thankful and grateful, and rejoice at this special holiday, Shavuot. And I wish you for next week, Hag Shavuot Sameach, but Shabbat will come first. So thank you everybody for joining in, and we'll, God willing, we'll see you next week. Oh no, next Wednesday, there will not be a service, okay? Not be a class. Yes, Brian. You're on mute. I can't hear you. I muted you.
the pillow there is pure sleep. If you can't sleep in your bed, you sleep on this bed now. We're behind you. And you have trouble
Yes,
sleep.
that's for guests.
What's this? I don't understand.
the pillow says.
Mine is
pure
looking at the bed that I have behind me. It says pure sleep. Yes, that's so the guests who come can have pure sleep. All right. I wish everybody pure sleep tonight. Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening. Sleep well. I won't say sleep tight, sleep loose, and a good deep sleep. And
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. May God
Shabbat
give you the desires.
shalom.
May God give you the desires of your heart.